Hello and welcome to another episode of 2-Minute Tuesday. I'm your host this time, Daryl LaBar. It's been a while. Actually, it's been over 2 years since I hosted episodes 12 on unit testing and 15 on avoiding plugin level variables. So if you want to have a blast from the past, you can go back to review those. Both of those are actually both still applicable in today's world, so they've aged nicely. Today I wanted to dive into Canvas app components and how you could use them to help collaborative app development. So let's go ahead and start that timer. So first, we have to know the limitations of Canvas app components, because without that, you're going to try to do something to split up your app that won't work. So let's walk through those. First, components can't save data sources, forms, or data tables. So anytime you're thinking of doing something external, you got to be very careful with that. Most likely, it cannot be done within a component. Editing collections in components are not supported. This is probably my biggest, most annoying issue with components, and you will run into it very quickly if you're not thinking about it. You can't insert a component into a gallery or a form, so it's very parent specific. Media files will not be included in the component package when imported. So if you have a media file there, you will need to import those manually to each app that it's referencing that component. Components don't support update context, so just be aware that that is a global context that you're dealing with and that you're going to be sharing information between instances of the component. So they don't support update context to help you keep from hurting yourself, but just remember that it is pretty much global. Components don't support subcomponents, so you can't create a component and have another component that hosts that component. Nuh-uh, doesn't work. So now that we know all the limitations, let's think about dividing up the app. So here's where you need to decide what items can be componentized, remembering our limitations, and determine the feature or person component library division that you're going to be applying. So you can either look to apply it to a person and say, hey, this person is going to have these things so they can go in a component, or hey, this feature, it can be a separate component and we'll handle that by a person handling that specific feature. So below I'll also give a link to the best practices described by Microsoft for following that. And this is actually where most of these images come from, because it's a really good example they have here. So let's say we have a hypothetical app here where we are attempting to search for sessions. And so there's a little search box that you enter in, and I would add to a filter down at the bottom. That sessions gallery would be filtered. There's a day filter, so what day is the session on, all that kind of fun stuff. And at the bottom, you'd have your little display that would show you things that would show, and you can click on that to go see the details of the actual display. So this is how you could split this up into 3 different components and allow for different people to be working on the app at the same time via the different components. So first is that search text component, where it would just basically select what the user has inputted. Maybe you've added some additional filtering to it or some additional help in order to autocomplete that text as a part of that component, so it's not just the text, or maybe it just is the text, but it's basically spitting out whatever the user has typed in as the output property. That's the top component. Second component is the day filter, so you can say what day should this apply to, what days, basically a different filter for that, what day or days. And then finally, you would input those both in as input variables into the bottom component, along with a navigation screen to navigate to when they've clicked on one of those components. And then you can use that to be able to navigate when they actually click on one of those sessions, to navigate to a screen that's in the app, but is not on this particular screen, and it's not touched in that particular component, but then it can navigate to that, and in the app context, it can give the selected session to display. So that's how I would go about and splitting up the app for those components. And thus concludes this slightly longer than 2-Minute Tuesday episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.